Hello. I had this thought on how to explain neurodivergence and if it really was such a curse or simply something to deal with. And from my own experience now, the more I get accustomed, I guess, to what it means to be neurodivergence by reading and also through Instagram shorts, it slowly makes more sense to me that it's not really a curse. It's only a curse if you do not accommodate your neurodivergence. If you don't take it into account, if you lead your life constantly like neurotypicals, you will feel it as a curse, you will burn out, you will be drained, you will be sad. It's really just about accepting it and integrating it into your daily life. Now, of course, there will be times where you do need to fit in or adjust and tolerate the discomfort and the awkwardness and the difficulties, most especially at work and sometimes in certain social settings. But in general, we do have at least a bit of leeway in our own lives, and so anytime we have a bit of control and we can accommodate, we should. And it's really once we do that, that it doesn't really feel like a curse as much. Now, there's still something in me that is a little bit angry for some reason at the fact that my brain functions and is structured a little differently than the majority of people. Why? Well, it can create a sense of loneliness, right? And it can also make things that for most people are incredibly easy, very difficult for you, so it can play a little bit on your self-esteem. Most generally, your life will look a little bit different too, and so it can create a feeling of like tiny shame when you share your life to others. Sometimes, I mean, maybe that's my experience, but the divide between you and the majority can sometimes suck. And things being difficult, after a while it gets draining and tiring. But still, I think that if you just say, well, this is just the way it is, and I'll center my life around it, and I'll find my happiness and my joy throughout, then it's just a thing to deal with. Because truly, I really like this metaphor to understand neurodivergence, which is that, well, I'll use video games because I am a big nerd and I love gaming. And I love gaming for real. Most times when I tell certain men that I game, they think I'm going to say Sims. And it's fine, I understand why. But no, I am a real gamer. You should see all of the games I've played. Please give this to me. And so neurodivergence, if you take the idea of video games, well, it's like playing on expert. So it's really not about, oh, neurodivergent individuals suffer more than neurotypicals. Not at all, because certain people go through much worse things than neurodivergence and they are neurotypical. It's not a game of who wins in the experience of suffering. When we lead like the normal, typical life or play the normal, typical game, we are all going to fight demons and monsters and enemies and bosses. We're all going to face those same difficult struggles of being a human being. But for neurotypicals, most usually, some lucky will start at easy. Is it lucky though? When you don't have a challenge, kind of sucks. Some will start at easy. Most people go on normal. Some will go on hard. Sad for them. But I believe that neurodivergence, we sort of always start on expert. It's our baseline level of difficulty. And so what happens is that you're going to face the same things, but for you, the neurodivergent, for example, you're fighting this boss, it's going to take much longer with much more effort. And afterwards you will be drained and you will not have time to do all these side quests. Let's say on an evening you're playing 3 hours. Go with me with the metaphor. If you're neurodivergent, you're fighting this boss, it's expert level. You'll probably die like 50 times. It's going to take so long. You're going to get really pissed and angry. You're going to swear. After 3 hours, you're finally done. You fought the boss. You're exhausted. You're drained. Did you go at the little bar to find that little side quest? No. Did you go at that little event fun thing? Did you go into La La Land exploring the world that surrounds you? No, you didn't, because you're burned out and drained because it took you 3 hours to fight the boss. A neurotypical individual, it may have taken them 1 hour. And so they have a beautiful hour, hour and a half, 2 hours left to just side quest. Right? I see side quests for me as all these little events you do on the weekend, and oh my god, I love cooking, and oh, I went for a run, and side questing. They're very lucky to have that time and energy. But for neurodivergence, it's too much effort. So it takes more of us to accomplish the same things. And I think that is the best metaphor that I can use. It's similar to, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, this idea that neurodivergence, let's say there's the beginning of a race and you start the race. Well, neurodivergence are like a few steps behind at the start. So, already something is against them when it comes to winning the game. It's not really a thing for them to win. There's something that is unfair. And so they're saying in life we should do something to bring these neurodivergent individuals or anyone else who suffers from diversity and inclusion issues to be at the start level, right? So it's similar, but I prefer my video game. And that's the way that I've been trying to explain it to myself, but also to people around me, because sometimes it's hard for people to understand why something can be so difficult. Like, for example, well, yeah, working, I guess, is hard. But yes, I work in an open space. I work in an open space, and it's a very social work. It is in consulting, and so it's highly social and visible. There is a part of it that's like your personal brand. So I don't know how to explain it, but there is a little bit of a social game. And yeah, I'm incredibly drained. Most of my colleagues will still do things on the weekend, even in the evenings. And for me, like, just the work itself, I've done everything. I've given everything. And then on the weekends, it's mostly like, I will not go out of my house. I am so tired. Can't really do anything because what I have to do is rest as much as possible so that I don't burn out in the end, so that on Monday it feels a bit fresh. So I don't think people can really understand. I think using the metaphor of video games can maybe help a little, because it's really about high sensitivity and executive dysfunction. And executive dysfunction is all encompassing. It's just your ability to regulate pretty much anything, regulate your attention, regulate your energy, regulate your emotions, regulate your actions. There's something that doesn't work quite as well. I think it's a dopamine issue, I believe. I should read more about this, but to me it's like uninteresting. For some reason, there's a certain level of knowledge I want with neurodivergence, and then it's just, let me just live it. Thank you very much. And then the other metaphor. So we've seen that it takes a bit more effort to do the same thing, but there's also, the image of a tightrope, and then there's a person with one wheel, and I think it's unicycling. Is it unicycling? But anyway, neurodivergence, we're on this tightrope, unicycling. And it can look fine, like, oh, great, interesting, look at it, unicycling. Isn't it dangerous or whatever? But the effort it takes to stay stable and in equilibrium on that tightrope, as we've said, is quite hard. But let's say you lose that balance. Falling from that tightrope has really harsh consequences. So it's a mix of that. If you're not constantly watching out and balancing and policing yourself and making sure you're aligning, making sure you're regulating, right? All the time. It takes a lot of effort, so you're constantly drained, aren't you? But if you fall, the consequences are harsher. So it's not just that it takes more effort, also your mental health is a little bit more fragile, in my humble opinion. It's a bit more fragile. There's lots of anxiety and depression in the neurodivergent population, and we understand why. Well, that's the thing. If you fall, you'll fall way lower. And so I would say that these are the two ways to explain neurodivergence. it can be fine. It's just noticing how much effort is probably hidden behind the facade. Especially for women, I've read a lot about women who are neurodivergent, who social mask a lot. I remember I did a test of social masking, and my score was so unbelievably high, and I thought everyone did that, like copying certain TV characters and replicating them, constantly monitoring your facial expressions to make sure that you're reacting the right way for the other person. Lots of things that are just incredibly draining because you're just 0% natural. You're constantly monitoring. It's a strange, bizarre thing. So there you go. I guess I just wanted to share those two metaphors because when you're going through it, it feels like impossible to say like how you're different in a certain way, or maybe just that you're weird for struggling so much. But if you take these two metaphors and you repeat to yourself, oh right, I'm on a tightrope, or oh right, I'm on expert me, I'm not on normal, it helps for a little moment when you're starting to feel the guilt or the shame or the anxiety, whatever else you may be feeling. So even though I didn't have my trusty stand this weekend, and this is the angle we're working with, still wanted to do this video to share those thoughts. I don't know if it's going to help anyone, but at least it's out there. So anyway, 11 minutes 41 seconds. I talk for forever, so I'm quite glad I'm stopping here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks talking about young, my hyperfocus. Bye.